This is the Jocko Underground podcast. Sitting here with EC, Echo Charles.
Sure.
And me, Jocko Willink. The open mind, which is good, and self-doubt. Self-doubt. So people freak out a little bit about self-doubt, and sometimes it consumes them, right? Some people will try and discourage you from having any self-doubt. Like, you got to believe in yourself, right? For me, self-doubt is not only okay, but kind of good in a way. And I was listening to BJ Penn on Joe Rogan's podcast, and Rogan started talking about Mike Tyson, who was training with Customato, and Customato was actually that whole thing is crazy. You start that, I guess they're turning that into a movie right now. I don't know how they're going to pull it off, but Customato he guided Mike Tyson so perfectly to become the champ by talking to him and by explaining things psychologically and kind of hypnotizing him and just influencing him so powerfully. That Mike Tyson was a machine, right? He turned into a machine. So one of the things he said was, and again, this is a quote from Rogan, which is a quote from Customato, so who knows how perfect I'm going to get it, but the basic quote is, fear is like fire. It can warm and cook your food, warm you, and it can cook your food, or it can burn your house down, right? So this is also clearly a dichotomy, right? But I think it's the same with self-doubt, because if you have some self-doubt, it's going to be good because you're going to push, you're going to train a little extra, you're going to prepare a little bit more. But it can also, right? So if you're going in a jiu-jitsu tournament and you have self-doubt, you're going to train extra hard and do some cardio, and you're going to lift weights, and you're going to work on your wrestling. You're doing work. If you think you're going to go in there and dominate, you're backing off. And it's the same thing with anything in life. But also, you could not enter the tournament, right? You could be so freaked out that you're not going to enter, or you're not going to go for the job interview, or you're not going to go talk to your boss about getting a raise. None of that stuff's going to happen because you're doubting it. And so you got to find that balance. But so now, to kind of go a little tangential, for me, I have another kind of self-doubt, which is also kind of positive in my opinion, which is when someone pushes back against me, when someone's got some other idea that I don't agree with, I think to myself, okay, what do I not understand? So if I say, hey, Echo, here's the plan for what we're going to do tonight, and you say, I don't like that plan. I don't think you're bad. I don't think you're an idiot. I think, what is it that I don't see? Why does Echo see something that I don't see? And this actually opens my mind. So for me, self-doubt is a state of mind that actually opens up my mind and allows me to listen. Now, here's the thing about having the open mind. I've been talking to a lot of people, a lot of clients about this. Your mind is, the natural mode of operating for your mind is to close. That's the natural mode of operating. Why? Because it's safer, because it's easier, because it's more comfortable. So the minute you have to open your mind up to someone else's ideas, it's going to get uncomfortable. The minute you open up your mind to someone else's ideas, things are going to get harder because you got to take in what they're saying. You got to do this calculus. Just like bacteria, right? We're afraid of bacteria. We're afraid of snakes. We stay away from them. That's what a new idea is. It's a snake that's going to get in your head. So the natural thing to do is to close our minds. And so it's difficult to go through life, because if you don't pay attention, your mind is constantly just trying to get closed back up and trying not to let any other ideas in. And clearly this is a pandemic right now out in the world, because people's minds are just boom, boom, closing. And it's you have to pay attention to it. So you actually have to detach to see that your mind is closed, right? You won't see it on your own. You won't see it if you're not thinking about it, if you're not consciously trying to pull back and check where your brain is at, where your mind is at, it's going to be closed. And you can just be running around just not knowing that your mind is closed. How will you know it? You won't know it. You won't know it. It's like there's no interference coming in to let you know, hey, your mind is closed. And occasionally you get rocked with some radical idea. I mean, can you imagine the guys that were doing like whatever traditional martial art in 1989 and how crazy it was for someone to come in and take them down and choke them with a jiu-jitsu. You know, like how crazy was it when they threw their magic strike and it didn't work at all. And then this guy just grabbed him and hip tossed him or double legged him. And then all of a sudden they're getting choked and their mind is so closed. You know what they say immediately? Let's try that again. Yeah. You know how many people I've had say that to me, especially in the early days of jiu-jitsu? Yeah. Like I would roll with somebody and let's try that again. Their mind couldn't even accept what was happening. Normally, I don't know what you found, it would be like 3 to 5 submissions before someone actually understands that there's something going on here that they don't get. Yeah. Before their mind even cracks barely open, it takes them getting submitted 3 to 5 times before they even recognize this. Yes?
Makes sense. But yeah, I don't have a concrete number there.
You've never, I mean, how many times do you have somebody like, oh, let's see?
Yeah, to be honest, the only time that's ever happened where someone would be like, oh, let's go again, like they didn't like believe it or they thought, oh, I just fell down in a bad spot or something like that is like at like a party or something, at a barbecue, that kind of stuff.
This counts, man.
Yeah.
This counts. Well, I would definitely end up in more, let's say, direct, because you know I'm in the dirt. Yeah, so we got everyone that's thinking that they know some stuff, and especially because, dude, I mean, I'm in the teams with guys that were, 80s guys, and 90s guys that are like, hey, we learned that if you do this, you're 100% going to go down. It's like, okay, do it to me. Yeah, double leg, rear naked choke. But it takes so you choke someone once, twice, 3 times, their mind's not even open yet. They're still like, that was, like you said, you just fell down, you got lucky. And it would take that multiple attacks and submissions before their mind even gets a little bit open. And then normally like a half an hour, like, oh, let's go one more time. They like, it closes back up again. Right. So that happens to all of us, and it's unnatural to keep your mind open. It's unnatural. It's not the human mode of operating to open up, to listen to what other people have to say. And yet, if you can do it, if you can go through life keeping that thing, like taking a stick and putting it in your mind so that the little hatch is pried open and it's stuck open, you're gonna have such a easier time understanding other people, understanding other ideas, and coming to a better conclusion. That's going to make everything in your life better.
Yeah, just knowing that, I think, is because you forget, just like how you said, like your mind, even if you do open your mind for a second, be like, okay, I'll have an open mind on this one, and then you accept the idea, then close right back up. Even if you accept the idea, as like, oh yeah, I had an open mind, I accepted the idea, I even changed my mind, look how mature, look at my growth, and then you just close your mind again. It's like it's an ongoing campaign. You got to kind of keep your mind open, or get in the habit of keeping it open.
Well, what's crazy now is, when you watch the divisiveness in the country, people will get presented with quote facts, and here's the thing, they'll like, those facts are just wrong, and they'll present their other quote facts, and so you have people debating with facts, but I just don't even believe your facts at all, so I'm just not listening to anything that you say. And it's wildness.
But you're right though, if you're in it or whatever, that's like a natural thing.
I mean, the stuff that's coming out of Ukraine right now, it's the Russians and the Ukrainians, everyone's doing this massive sort of information operations push to get out their stories. And I mean, the one example that came out of the gate was the Ghost of Kiev. Were you tracking that? The Ghost of Kiev. Hey, this great Ukrainian pilot shot down X number of Russian aircraft, and everyone's all hyped on it. And yeah, it just wasn't true.
Straight up.
And yeah, so it's been interesting to see how that is, but it's also, that's going into another topic of like, hey, you better, well, I've talked about this before. It's a first report. You better take it with a little grain of salt.
Yeah. Yeah, but that open mind thing is kind of, and you say it's like natural, and it is just like, but it's essentially kind of like exercise. We'll say lifting weights. Rob Jones actually talks about this, where it's like you can look at weights or new ideas or whatever, however, kind of in two ways where, and it's up to you, where you can be like, oh yeah, I'm going to be resistant to it. Like, I don't want to go, bro, lifting weights is hard. I'm not going to do that. My body doesn't, I'm not in the mood to do all that. But if you do it, don't look at it as like some imposition onto you. Look at it as something that you can use to adapt to and then become stronger. So same thing with the ideas. If you're a closed mind, that's like you just not wanting to lift weights or whatever because it's too hard, it's too heavy, you're tired, whatever. And that's essentially your body trying to be efficient. I think that's like really what it is.
Yeah, and I think, as you said, I think the worst case of this is just that you don't even. That is a little excerpt of what we are doing on the Jocko Underground podcast. So if you want to continue to listen, go to jockounderground.com and subscribe. And we're doing this to mitigate our reliance on external platforms so we are not subject to their control. And we're doing it so we can give you more control, more interaction, more direct connections, better communications with us, strengthen this legion of troopers that are in the game with us. So thank you. It's jockounderground.com. It costs $8.18 a month. And if you can't afford to support us, we can still support you. Just email assistance@jockounderground.com and we'll get you taken care of. Until then, we will see you mobilized underground.